Okay, today I'm going to show you how to install a lifeline into your knitting. This prevents you from having to just undo the whole thing, or if you're ripping back, it can be really hard sometimes to pick those stitches back up. So if you were just to pull them off the needle and go back a few rows, you could try to pick them back up, but sometimes that can be quite tricky. This just makes it much easier. So what you can do, particularly in the earlier days, is install what's called a lifeline every few rows, 5 rows, whatever you feel comfortable with. And that just means that you could always go back to that place. So really, it's really straightforward, really easy. So all you need to do is get any piece of yarn. This one's quite a bit thicker than the piece of yarn on my material, but it's just a scrap piece of yarn. And just thread that onto a darning needle. And then what we're going to do is just push this through all of those stitches. Oh, be careful when you're doing this that your stitches don't split. So just be careful to only pick up the actual stitch. Okay, those ones. Do this on any size piece of work. I often do this on bigger pieces like jumpers, because you can be there for hours just doing a few rows, or blankets as well, where you're doing, you know, over 100 stitches in a row. It's a lot to try and pick up if you don't have a lifeline. And I'd say it's rare that I don't have to ever rip back at all. At some point I usually have to. Now sometimes I don't have a lifeline in there and I just go back and pick them back up, but it can sometimes mean that I go an extra row back or something to just make sure that I've got them all. Just threading this all the way through. My advice, to be honest, would be not to use a thicker piece of yarn than the one you're working on. This cotton yarn that I'm using here is a double knit, and I've put a chunky yarn through it. It's not advisable to do that, but it's just a swatch, so that's why it doesn't really matter. But if I was doing this on my garment, I would usually actually use the same one that I'm knitting with, just to try and keep it the same thickness, or a thinner one. But because it's red, it shows well as well. So that's the other reason that I want to use this one. So once you've got that in, you just need to continue to knit your rows as normal. So just carry on for however many rows you want to do before either you need to rip it back, or you just want to move the lifeline. So I'm just going to do a few rows here, and then I will show you how to rip back or move it. Right, so here we have our lifeline a bit further down through our knitting, so that's how it will look. So if you want to move the lifeline, you literally just pull it out. Just pull out the whole thing and stitch it in higher up. It will really easily slips backwards and forwards. Let me show you. See, really easily. So just pull it out and put it in higher up. So if you want to do it every sort of 5 rows, I've just done 6, so I could add it in here. Now, if you realise that actually this is all wrong, something on here is wrong, sometimes it takes longer to work it out than it would do just to rip it back, right? So all you need to do, take your stitches off the needle. Scary, scary. After all that time trying to keep them on there, hey? Literally just got to keep ripping this back. I'm just going to keep it on the ball so that it doesn't tangle. Just ripping it back. And you're going to get back to this point. Can't go back any further than that because you're there. And it won't let you go further than that because it's holding it in place. So you see, if you continue to go, it won't. So it stops you from having to go back further. Then you're just going to take your needles and put it back on. Now I want this to be the same way around that I had it, so I'm going to put it on this way. Okay, then we're just going to pick up these stitches nice and easily. So in comparison to having to go back, if you've ripped them off and you haven't installed a lifeline, these stitches will start to drop down further, and it's really tricky then to get them back. And try not to get bits of the yarn in. Doesn't a huge amount, I just want it to be easy to pull out. So across it goes. This way you won't take them all but put them back on and then go, there's one missing somewhere. Because you can see them all on there. Okay, and they're back on, and you can carry on. Do it again. Redo it. When you're done, it's easier to take them out once it's off the needle, to be honest. Keep knitting and then take it out. There you go. Come off nice and easily, and you're back. So yeah, that's installing a lifeline. Very much recommend that you do that. Okay.